Hey guys, how we doing? Welcome to Walking Boxing. It is Saturday, September 21st, 2024, and it's a bit of a interesting morning this morning. You can probably see behind me, it looks like a nice day. The sun's out. Well, about 5 minutes ago, it was absolutely pouring rain, which is why I've got my umbrella with me. And it was not a good morning at all, to the point where I wasn't going to actually go for a walk. But as I said, I've got my umbrella, I'm good to go. But as I say that, the clouds are starting to roll over again. But anyway, that is Victoria for you. 4 seasons in one day. We've already had a couple and it's only early. So a little bit going on in the boxing world. We've got, this weekend, Anthony Joshua, Anthony Dubois, and the guys have weighed in. I think that Joshua was 252, Dubois was 248. So we've got a fight, and not quite sure of what to make of the fight, if I'm being honest. I know there's probably been a lot of hype around Dubois, a lot of people giving him a really good chance. Look, if I'm being honest, I don't really share those thoughts. I think this is, I was going to say, a bit of a layup for Joshua, because Dubois, in my opinion, is absolutely custom made for Anthony Joshua. I saw in Dubois' last fight against Hrgovic, he was getting tagged with a lot of right hands. I know, and look, credit to him for actually fighting very well in that fight and steadying the ship and getting the win. But I was a little bit concerned about how easily he was nailed with the right hand, and we all know with Anthony Joshua that is his main weapon, is that really well-timed big right hand that he throws. And I think all we've got to do is ask Francis Ngannou about that. And look, not that was the ideal lead-in for Anthony Joshua. You talk about a layup, or that was a layup for Anthony Joshua. As impressive as he looked, I think Dubois will give him a lot better fight than that. Don't worry about that. But I just think Dubois, look, he's game. He's got okay skills. He moves okay for a heavyweight. But I just get the feeling that he might have a couple of moments early, but I just think as the fight goes on, when Anthony Joshua finds his range and timing and just gets a bit of a look at Dubois, I've just got a feeling that we could see a knockout with a big right hand from Anthony Joshua. So, and look, I just look back at Dubois' fights with Joe Joyce. I look at his fight with Alexander Usyk. I know he had the knockdown, which was great. I know it's disputed. I'm not going to get into all that. But at the end of the day, I just thought once the heat really went on, he wasn't really able to go with those guys. A little bit like what Frank Bruno used to be like. And I'm not saying he's a quitter or he's fragile or anything like that. I'm just saying that, and some fighters this happens to, that when he gets tired and fatigued, and it comes down to more than just style and technique and strategy even, it comes down to heart and how far you can dig. I just think he's been found wanting just a little bit like Frank Bruno used to be, and that's not being detrimental. Some people just handle it better than others, and while he tries his best, he does try to dig deep. Sometimes it's just not quite enough, and I just thought against Usyk and Joe Joyce that was the case. And I just think as the fight goes on, we might get a little bit similar with Joshua. Joshua's been around a long time, and Joshua has been guilty a little bit of that himself when you think about it, hasn't he? So has maybe failed on a couple of occasions to dig deep enough when he has to. But I just think his experience, his overall ability, I just think he has enough to get over Dubois. And I think that I'm probably going to pick a maybe 6th or 7th round knockout for Anthony Joshua. So it should be a good fight. It's here in Australia, it's a really odd time. I think the card starts at 12:30 or 1 o'clock in the morning, which means the main event will probably be on about, 6 o'clock in the morning. It's a real tough one. The Riyadh cards are obviously the same, but, well, this is a Riyadh card, but I'm talking about the ones in Saudi Arabia. So look, I'm not quite sure whether I'll get up early and watch the whole card, but I'll probably get up just in time to watch the main event. But look, it will be entertaining. That's probably one thing I will say. While the fight lasts, it will be entertaining. Both guys do like to punch on, and I'm sure that Anthony Joshua will have his hands full with Dubois, as I said, for a limited time before he takes over. onto the rest of the card. Now, I did have that here. Just excuse me while I bring it up. So we've got Tyler Denny, Hamza Shiraz. I'm a big fan of Shiraz. I think he'll do some good things in the division. Joshua Boazzi, Willie Hutchison. Yeah, that's an okay fight. Anthony Kasashi, always pronounce that wrong. Josh Warrington, good fight. Josh Kelly, Ismail Davis. Now, I don't know what happened to Liam Smith, so if anyone can let me know, put a comment there, because as far as I knew, that was supposed to be Liam Smith. Obviously injured or something else, but I've missed that maybe on my journeys, and I've overlooked that. And then Mark Chamberlain, Josh Padley. So look, it's a solid card without being really, I don't think, at the level of some of the other Riyadh cards that we've seen. But I'm sure for the English fans, they'll love it. And you've also got to cater your market, not just everyone or the casuals. You've got to cater to the market you're in, and that's the English market. So I'm sure it'll be a good fight. Joshua has mentioned that he's still focused on fighting Tyson Fury. Fury, of course, has got his hands full with Alexander Usyk in December. But I still think that fight happens regardless of what happens, probably with either of these fights. I think even if Joshua loses and Fury loses, I still think we might see that fight next year at some time. Because let's face it, regardless of records and titles and everything else, as one of Neil's mates come to say good day, it's still the biggest fight in English boxing history. So I still think that will happen next year. And it's actually, speaking of Usyk, I mentioned earlier in the week with his little run-in at the airport, apparently what happened was he was actually already on the plane when all this happened with the police and officials and everything else. And he was on the plane, and his friend that actually drove him from wherever he was to the airport, apparently it was like a 14-hour drive. He was exhausted, and apparently, yeah, Usyk was on the plane. They wouldn't let his friend on the plane because they thought he was inebriated or intoxicated or whatever it was. So they didn't let him on the plane, and Alexander Usyk got off the plane or out of his seat to go and try and help his friend. And maybe because of the size of him and maybe his language or the tone or whatever it was, I don't know, they put him in handcuffs and let him away. But as far as I know, it's all been cleared up and everyone's happy with the results. But not a great look for anyone, is it? The heavyweight champion being led away in handcuffs, not good at all. So glad to see that's worked itself out. On to some other stuff. I did see that Devin Haney has done an interview about maybe the Ryan Garcia rematch, and I don't know what is with this guy, if I'm being honest. I don't get him. He was absolutely dominated by Garcia early in the year, and yeah, whether it's all these allegations with the PEDs and all that sort of stuff, look, I don't think it can hide the fact that the guy was dominated by Ryan Garcia. He fails to take any, I won't say responsibility, but any credence of that. Like, he just won't accept it. And of course it has been eliminated, the result, so he's still undefeated. But he says that if he fights Ryan Garcia again, it will be all on his terms. So I don't know who he thinks he is, but Ryan Garcia is the A side. No matter what's happened with all the other allegations and suspensions and tests and all that sort of stuff, Ryan Garcia is the A side. So if I was Devin Haney, I'd probably be a little bit more respectful in trying to get that rematch. And Ryan Garcia did say after reading or seeing that interview, whatever he did, to take it all in, that he's not going to bother fighting Devin Haney again. He's going to let him live with what happened to him in April this year. So talk about living rent-free in someone's head. It's, yeah, look, I for one don't think we're going to get that fight. I think Devin Haney will have to live with that result for the rest of his career. And there is talk, well, he did actually say that the offer had gone out to Teofimo Lopez to fight Devin Haney in, I think it was October, on one of the Riyadh cards, and Lopez wasn't ready. So I'm not sure how he couldn't be ready. He fought, what, months and months ago. But anyway, I don't really believe that. I think Haney said that Lopez didn't want the fight, or I think he might have even said he might have been a bit scared of him, which I certainly don't believe. How could you be afraid of Devin Haney? But anyway, so I'm not sure what or how much truth there is to that, but that would be an excellent fight if that was the case, Haney and Lopez, and that might be the fight that maybe he has to look at rather than the Ryan Garcia rematch. So I think we'll probably go to 147. Speaking about living in people's heads, our old mate Oscar De La Hoya If you don't watch it, make sure you check out his Clapback Thursdays. It's a quick 2-minute grab that he does every, it's Friday here in Australia, Thursday of course back there with the name Clapback Thursday, and he couldn't wait to do this week's version because of the Canelo Alvarez and Edgar Berlanga fight. Look, one thing he does say at the end of his videos that I do 100% agree with, it's not hating if it's the truth or it's facts, and I get that, but I think we've got to maybe just meet somewhere in between with this week's episode, because the first thing he said was about Canelo and Berlanga. He said, I told you it was not going to be a sold out arena. Well, I was there and it looked pretty sold out to me. He did say there was a sectioned off area, but I'm pretty sure that area is sectioned off all the time because I put all the all the TV stuff and production stuff behind it. So I don't think that's the case. As far as I could see, there wasn't an empty seat anywhere. So maybe that's just what they do on every show there. But they did say there was 20,000. I'm not quite sure if that's exactly the case. But what I can tell you was, for me, the place looked packed and the place was pumping. And then he said about the fight, he said that it was a snore fest and it was predictable and Berlanga didn't win a round. I don't believe that at all. I thought it was a really good fight. I thought Berlanga turned up, he tried to win. Canelo tried to finish him. And you've got to remember, Berlanga, I think he weighed in, I think they said 193. So he's put on 25 pounds after the weigh, and Canelo wouldn't have put it on anywhere near that. So it's a lot of weight, he's a big guy to try and get out of there. So I've got no dramas with Canelo not being able to finish him. He did drop him, of course, but I thought Canelo, wound back the clock a little bit. I thought he fought very well. So I don't really subscribe to that from Oscar. I thought it was a good fight. Am I screaming for a rematch? Probably not, but it was a good fight, good atmosphere. I think the event was fantastic, and I think I said in one of my earlier videos this week that all I saw in Las Vegas all week was Canelo and Berlanga. Not really much at all about the UFC Noche. So, and he did say he actually went to that event. I think he's got a bit of a love-hate relationship with Dana White, but he said he went in the box of Turkey Al Sheikh and had a good night. Of course, he couldn't wait to rub salt into the wounds of Canelo, or to, as he says, clap back on Canelo. But yeah, look, apparently the UFC was a success. I didn't see any of it, but all I can say from my point of view, from the Canelo Berlanga aspect, is that it was a massive success as far as I could see. But so yeah, Oscar, I get what he's saying, and he does speak a lot of the truth. I'll give him that. And he probably says a lot of things that others aren't really game enough to say. And as he said, it's not hating if it's the truth. In this instance, though, I think it's a little bit of in between. Just with Canelo, just the last thing with him, the Crawford and Benavidez are still calling out for him. But there's actually, I think it was David Benavidez this week actually said that he would like to actually fight Terence Crawford. Could you imagine the size difference in that fight if those two actually got in the ring with each other? I could probably forgive Terence Crawford for saying, no, that's not really the fight that I would need, because you've got to look at the dimensions of both guys. I mean, Canelo Alvarez, he probably should be fighting at middleweight. He's fighting at super middleweight, or 168. I think like Floyd Mayweather and Pacquiao and all those guys did at the end of their careers. It's just easier to make weight, and they'll give a little bit of that away, the weight advantage, and make up with their overall ability. So they'll go into a fight or fight in a division that's comfortable for them. And I think that's what Canelo does. Benavidez goes up to heavyweight, or at least cruiserweight after the fights, after the weigh-in. So, yeah, and Terence Crawford would be probably, what's he fight at 154 now? He's probably 160 wringing wet, really. So, yeah, I could just imagine the size difference. I don't think that's going to happen. I think we can forgive Crawford if he says, look, I'll fight Canelo, but not Benavidez. And just on Crawford too, there is rumours that if he doesn't hit the Canelo fight, he's just going to retire. Now that's another interesting point of view, because I think we've all thought that if he doesn't get the Canelo fight, then he'll just fight maybe Tim Tszyu, he might fight Fundora, maybe the Spence rematch, who knows. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. I think he's at the stage of his career, 36 I think he is, made a lot of money. He, just as it starts raining here, by the way, he's made a lot of money, his legacy's intact, and that's probably why he wants that Canelo fight, to put the exclamation mark on his career. So if he doesn't get it, don't be surprised if he says that's it. gut feel is though, if he doesn't at Canelo fight, maybe he might wait and see what happens with Tim Tszyu and Murtazalyov, and if Tim Tszyu wins, maybe he'll fight him as his farewell fight, and maybe if Fundora and Spence fight, he might fight the winner of that in his farewell fight. Who knows? But I just think Terence Crawford's not interested in the Boots Ennises of the world and all these other young guns coming up. He just wants the absolute biggest fight to say farewell, and then he'll be gone. So let's see what happens there. So guys, that is it for Saturday, September 21st. Obviously we'll talk about the fight tomorrow, the Dubois and Joshua fight, and let's see how it goes. And hope if you do watch it live tomorrow, you get some sleep, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. Have a good one.